Hey everybody, Karen here. Welcome back to Unpinned Creative and day 13 of dephemerember. Today our prompts are acetate and banner. This is a tricky one for me. I don't know why, it just doesn't inspire me too much, but we'll continue and see how we go. So our animal for today is seahorse. And I went looking through all my books and all my everything, and I could not find any seahorse things. So we're going to create a landscape or seascape today from various different bits and pieces. I'll put the seahorse aside for the moment. So for acetate, I found a piece of packaging that I always keep stuff like this because I do use acetate for windows and things like that in book journal covers and things. So that was no problem. So I've just cut out a piece of that. And at this stage, I'm thinking that that's going to be my banner. I have got the light on today. It is daytime, but it is very rainy and windy outside, so it's a bit dark in here. Right, we'll put that aside for now. We'll get to that later as well. The other thing I've got is some of this paper packaging stuff that comes in Amazon packages or courier packages. So I love the texture of that. I use that quite a lot for texture, so I'm going to be using that. This is the page, the next page in my journal. It has one of my vintage book pages on it, and it's an old city of some sort, and it kind of reminded me of Atlantis when I was thinking about seahorses and the sea. I don't know, it's a bit of a stretch, but that's sort of where my mind went. So what I am thinking is, to start with, I also have a serviette that I picked up at the op shop in these blue kind of marble tones. So I am going to glue that down on my page first to give me a coloured background. So that's easy peasy. I will be using my clear gesso, homemade clear gesso. So I love homemade clear gesso for gluing down tissue and serviette and thin stuff because it's very light. And the way I do it is I just put a thin layer onto the surface that I'm going to be placing the tissue on, and then I do a thin layer over the top, trying always to keep my brush wet so that I don't tear the tissue if I don't want it torn. Sometimes I want it torn. And there we go. I love the ripply effect. That's very cool. Okay, the next thing I thought is that this would go on top and be glued, but leaving a space for a pocket where the seahorse tag would fit in. So I'm going to do that next, and I think I'll go and dry this off quickly first, just to be safe. I'll be back. Okay, I've dried that off. It's a little bit damp, but it will be fine, I'm thinking. So next I want to glue this down. Now, it's not flat, so it's not the easiest to glue down. I think I want it that way. And I want a pocket left to slide this into. So I'm going to use this glue and just go around. I have a whole bunch of paint pots that are left over from a paint by numbers kit that my son did last Christmas, and so I'm going to use those up. I think I'm going to just randomly paint them over this in kind of sea type colours. We'll see how we go. So I think I'll start with this kind of a colour. And I'm just going to have quite a wet brush and just loosely paint over this paper. I don't mind at all if the brown comes through. So this is my kind of painting, very just loose and abstract, I guess, and random, like everything I do, quite random. I'm not an artist, as in I'm not a painter or a, you know, I can't draw or anything like that. It's just not something that, you know, is a talent of mine, but I love painting. I wish I could draw. And I love creating art, so I just give it a go. I just give it a go and see what happens. And I try not to think about it too much. I kind of just let it happen as it, you know, wherever my brush touches the page, that's kind of what happens. So I guess my point is, don't be afraid to try out new mediums and stuff like that. Just because you might not think you'll be any good at it, or that you have any knowledge of it or anything like that, just play. Just play and see what happens. And if it turns out and it's not brilliant, then you just cover it up. Just put stuff on top. Okay, I'm happy with that. I'm not going to do any more in case I create a big muddy mess, but it just covers up the brown and you know, add some different shades and stuff to the page. So that was what I was wanting. And now what I have is, I have a whole bunch of textile fibres of different sorts, and I'm going to add those onto the page as well. Essentially, I guess what I'm doing is creating textile art on a paper page. Kind of textile and paper art. And that's just a case of cutting random shapes and lengths and stuff out of fibres and textiles in various sizes and popping them on the page and seeing what happens. This is just some of the paper, it's kind of embossed paper that florists use. Susie girl has just jumped on the table. No doubt she'll try and stand in the paint. If you haven't seen my other videos, Susie is my crafty cat. She loves to craft and she also loves to get into the picture if she can. She tries to help me sew, she tries to help me paint. Okay, I'm going to start gluing down because I find that's the best way to work, is to just start gluing and then things just happen naturally. Otherwise I would never finish because I'd always be trying to change everything around to make it perfect, and that just doesn't happen for me. So I'm not being too fussy about the gluing. I don't want everything stuck flat down on the page. I want texture. This is just what I like, and I know this is a junk journal, so it makes my journal very bulky. I will do a flip through maybe tomorrow of the journal so far. It is very, very bulky. And I'm only halfway through. But generally that's how my journals turn out. And I don't mind that at all, apart from the problem of where to store them. It makes for a really interesting, beautiful piece of memorabilia, really. An art book to look through. I love doing art journals as well as junk journals. And in my art journaling classes, I really teach the art of imperfection and just giving stuff a go and putting stuff down on a page and seeing what happens. Which is kind of what I'm doing here. I have this beautiful bunch of thread that is just gathered up from threads I've pulled off things and stuff like that, so that's going to go on there. I have this gorgeous wool, acrylic wool as well, which is very finely wound, so I can easily pull that apart and twist it up into a ball, and you know, it gives a really cool texture to a page or to a piece of art. And that sort of thing I just I don't really glue down. I kind of pop it on top of something that's still wet with glue or wet paint or whatever, and then I'll glue stuff down on top of it, and that will hold it down. and then I have some, this is like a fake flower, fake silk flower or something, and I'm just going to cut off the petals. And then I have some of this yarn for knitting with, and I think it's feathers yarn is what it's called, and I like that that kind of looks like seaweed, so that's going on too. I don't like how white this is on the page, so paintbrush and some paint, and just to add some colour. This is a really bad paintbrush because the end is glued together. But I just want some colour, it doesn't really have to be precise. Okay, and now what I'm going to do, I think that's probably enough stuff. I have some shell buttons, some beautiful buttons made out of shell, and I'm going to glue those on. Normally I would put a piece of twine through the holes in the buttons, but I think I'm not going to this time. Alright, and then I have these buttons which are just plastic buttons, and I thought I might add those in. So to do that I'm going to cut off the shaft, the shank, where you would stitch the button onto a piece of clothing, and then I'm just going to place those down on that. I'm okay with those colours. I have a seahorse and a shell as well that are pink, and I don't really like the pink, so I'm going to have a go at painting those. But first I will pop these ones on. So to remove this shank, I just take a piece of I just take a pair of pliers and cut the shank off. Because it's plastic, it's really easy, and then I will glue that down. Okay, so where have I put my glue? Good boy. So I'm just going to put glue on the back of that, and I'm going to put that one over here and do the same with these. Okay, so it is looking a little bit primary school collage-y. I understand that, but I will hopefully fix that soon. So for these two, before I cut the shank off, I'm just going to paint those up a different colour. So I have a gigantic brush, but it will work, I'm sure. And I'm going to choose a dark bluey grey colour. And just paint over the pink bits. Like so. And what I might do is see if I can wipe it off. So there's a tiny starfish on top of that shell. Oh no, I just succeeded in covering it up. I'm just going to take a wet wipe on my finger and see if I can wipe off some of that paint on the starfish. Oh, like so. And then I'm just going to leave that one for a minute, get my seahorse, do the same, cover him all up. That paint, for a cheap paint by numbers set, is pretty amazing, I have to say. And then I might just try and wipe some off on his face. So he's a little bit pink, but not a lot pink. Yeah. I think that's pretty cool. Right. Let that dry. Not upside down. I'm just going to try and dry this brush really well, or as well as possible. I should just use a dry brush, but I haven't got one. Near me. I mean, I've got one. It's just way at the other end of the house. And then I might take a tiny bit of this pinky, pale pink colour just on the end of my brush. I should wait till this is dry. I totally should wait till this is dry. Proceeds to do it anyway. There. Oops, sorry, I was off camera. Just to add some highlights to that. Okay, I'm happy with that. We're all about speed and dephemerember. I can fix it all up later. That's what I'm thinking at this stage. Right, I'm going to cut that off the seahorse. Okay. We're going to tie all that together now, hopefully. I mean, I'm pretty happy with it, actually. I think it's looking okay. I think it's looking pretty cool. It's not fine art, but none of my pages are fine art. They're just fun and messy and creative. That still goes in there. How about we work on the acetate for now? Because that's going over there as a banner. So, to make it a banner shape, or what, you know, sort of what I think of when I think of banner, I guess. I just cut a triangle out of the center. And I am going to it's exactly the right width, coincidentally. So I think I might cut that in the same shape. Ish. Yep. And then I have some of this paper, and I want to cut kind of a corner shape, shell kind of shape out of that, just following the pattern that's on it. Like that. I'm going to ink those up. Okay, so I have inked up the edges of those, and I'm going to glue them into the onto the top corners. I'm going to put that aside to dry, and then we're going to finish off this page. We're going to add some splatters, I think. This is just white acrylic paint and water. And it always goes in random directions. Okay. Nope. It's alcohol. It's isopropyl alcohol. I can smell it. It's acrylic paint and isopropyl alcohol. Right, I might go dry that off and I'll be back. Okay, I have found some very old watercolour paints that I got secondhand, of course. So let's see if I can make some splatters with these. Maybe, or maybe not. We'll see. I'm getting this everywhere. But it worked. So I'm happy about that. Okay, I am going to leave that to dry. I've got to go off and cook the dinner, and I'll come back after dinner and finish off the page. Okay, so I am pretty happy with that now, and I have mounted the seahorse illustration onto a piece of lightweight card and popped that into the pocket just with his little head peeking out, and you can see his body through that honeycomb paper. Now onto the banner. So I have another piece of this netting. It's like what florists use. So that's going on there. I've got some more threads. I'm just going to kind of make a ball of fluff with that, although I don't want it too thick. I think that's actually, I'm going to pop that underneath that on the acetate, and I'm going to glue that down. Just a glob of glue, and then a little bit more on top. hold that down. Okay, so we have that squiggly thing off center. That's fine. I'll try and move it over a little bit. Yeah, that's cool. And then, okay, out you go. Off you go. And then I wanted something for the center of that. So I found this vinyl that I have, that I've had for ages, and I love it, and I haven't used it. And it has these kind of skeletal mermaids on it. So I'm going to fussy cut one of those out, and she is going to go in the center of that. There we go. I'm going to ink her up. So that is going on the banner. So I'll glue her down. Okay, and now I want to punch a couple of holes in the corners up here. Okay, I'm back. It's the next day because my battery died on my camera. But this is what I have for the banner so far. I think this is where we left off. And I had just decided that I was going to pop some eyelets, brads, not eyelets. But I've used brads a few times throughout the this journal, so I want to keep with that. So I have these brads, which are the same ones that I've been using, and I'm just going to pop those through the fabric and the banner. And I will open them up a wee bit. Open them up all the way, push them flat. Like that. Now to attach that to the page, I want to use some of this feathers yarn again. Let me bring the page back in. So I actually really love this page. I think it's pretty awesome for this journal. So that I'm wanting to sit about there, and I'm going to attach some of this feathers yarn to each of these brads, because I want to be able to lift this out of the way so that I can see the pocket underneath. So I'm going to attach this to the brads just by wrapping it underneath and tying a knot. Just adds another layer of dimension and depth to the page, that banner, with the clear acetate as well, because you can still see through it, so it kind of makes it look even more like you're under the sea, which I love. And then I think I am just going to pop 2 more brads in the corners like this and attach the yarn to those as well. And I'm just going to leave those bits as they are. I'm going to put my glasses on, then I can see. Yeah, I'm not gonna trim those off. They can just hang out. And that is our page. So this flips up, and you can see our seahorse card underneath. I love it. I think it's very cool. Okay, that's the video for today. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one.